Hi everyone, it's Jerrel here with the Autoharp. I hope you enjoyed that little bit of a song that I don't think I've actually played that on the Autoharp before, but I always enjoy hearing um, songs that weren't written for the Autoharp that are more modern than the Autoharp being played on the Autoharp. So um, that's one of the songs that I really like. That song I've never played on the Autoharp. I thought it'd be fun to try. So today I just wanted to discuss with you the what is it like playing an Autoharp versus the guitar in public. And there's a few things that you're just going to have to make sure that you keep in mind and remember if you are going to pick up the auto harp and start playing it in places and in gigs and jams and whatnot. And one of the most important things, differences that you're going to find between the guitar, say for example, whatever you've got here, is get to wherever you're going early and tune up early. So you have your auto harp in your case. Make sure you have your tuning wrench with you. I use a phone amp, not a phone amp, a phone tuner. I use a tuning app on my phone. And what is so important is you get to wherever you are intending to play, whether it's a dive bar, it's a saloon out in the Wild West, if it's an Irish pub, get there early, open the case, let your instrument acclimate to the environment for around half an hour or so, and then tune it. If you tune it before you get there, it's likely to go out a bit. You also need to understand the ambient sound level of your environment, and you need to be able to tune regardless of the ambient environment. So I know there's certain places where I just won't be able to tune the auto harp because of the ambient sound in the environment. So I tune it at home, and then you have faith. You have faith. You tune it at home and you have faith, and that's about it. You just gotta believe. But if it really matters to you, especially if you're playing with other musicians, if you're playing alone, it's not such a big deal. If the instrument goes a little out of tune, generally the whole thing will go out of tune together. But if you are playing with other musicians, it's vital that you get your instrument as close to in tune as possible. So make sure you understand your ambient environment, the ambient noise in the environment, and you know how to tune up in that environment. The worst thing you can do is show up somewhere that you've never been before and try to tune it only to find out that you can't tune it there, or you didn't leave yourself enough time to tune and it sounds bad. People are going to pay attention to the auto harp because it's not a common instrument. So people will look at it and they will listen. And if it sounds good, they'll say, "Oh, okay." And if it sounds bad, they're going to say, "Oh, yeah, whatever the hell that thing is not very good." So it's not like a guitar where if like there's a bunch of people that have guitars, and you can sort of blend in if you're a little out of tune, and it doesn't super matter. But when it comes to the audio harp, people are actively listening to see what it sounds like. So that's very important. Another important thing to keep in mind when you're playing the auto harp in public is your projection. If you're playing alone, it's not such a big deal, especially if you're playing out in a saloon, out in like an old gold mining town or a dive bar somewhere, and you're sitting out in the back with the locals and you're strumming out a couple tunes alone. It's not such a big deal. If you are in, say for example, an Irish pub and there's other instruments along, then it's going to be problematic in terms of projection. So you need to play significantly harder, and that's not necessarily good for the instrument, really. You can break strings if you play too hard. So I use a plastic thumb pick so I can really dig into the lower register and really strike that, give it a good strike. I use plastic on my pointer finger and metal on my middle finger just so I can get a little bit more sparkle in the top end. Now the reason why I use plastic on the pointer and thumb is to reduce the clatteriness of the instrument. It is quite clattery by nature, and even with the plastic picks it is quite clattery. Let's see here. Another important thing to keep in mind when you're playing the auto harp in public, and especially with other musicians, is understand what role you can fill in and adapt on the spot. So understand your role in an ensemble and adapt. And what I mean by that is when you're playing a mandolin, in a bluegrass group, you understand what the mandolin is supposed to do. You know what the banjo is supposed to do. You know what the fiddle is supposed to do. There isn't a designated role for the auto harp anywhere. There isn't a genre that says, oh yeah, we have to have the Autoharp, and the Autoharp always does this. So when you are playing the Autoharp in a group, especially in a jam, in public, listen very closely to the other instruments and find out where you can fit in. And don't do too much. The Autoharp is an instrument where you can very easily do too much, and it just becomes messy and noisy, and it conflicts with the other instruments. If they don't have a mandolin, you know, you can play on 2s and 4s or something, you know, or you can play on 1s and 3s, you know. So I just dropped my pick. It has fallen here. Okay, got my pick back. Okay, so if they're, you know, strumming along, you know, kind of what I mean by playing on 1s and 2s, or playing on 2s and 4s, or 1s and 3s. Is if people are strumming along, usually it's the guitar that's the strong rhythm instrument, and what the Autoharp can do to support the guitar is fill in a little of that bass end and let that ring out. And then on the next phrase that you're playing on, or the next beat you're playing on, so a little bit of low end, a little bit of high end. You might be tempted to think, the guitar just sounds so loud, it's doing so much, I'll just play as much as I can, you know. Hey, a string just broke. Go figure. A string just broke. So, don't do too much. You don't have to do too much. You know, you play just right, find where you fit in. But if there are like 3 guitars, and, you know, some of them are amplified, and someone's singing on an amplifier, Godspeed to you, you know. You're just going to have to understand it's very hard for the Autoharp to keep up in that environment. And it has a small resonating body, a small resonating chamber. So keep in mind the venues where you're playing, keep in mind how you're going to fit in with the other instruments, and just make sure you get there on time to tune up. There's a couple pieces of advice. I hope that was interesting to you. That's all I've got time for today. So I hope you're all doing well, and come home again soon, and I'll leave a light on for you.